Good morning, church. It is good to be with you today, this morning. Happy Saturday. I pray that you have the opportunity to rest today and that you are filled with the hope and the joy of the Lord. What is the source of wars and fights among you? Asked James. Don't they come from your passions that wage war within you? You desire and do not have. You murder and covet and cannot obtain. You fight and wage war. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and don't receive because you ask with wrong motives, so that you may spend it on your pleasures. You adulterous people, don't you know that friendship with the world is hostility towards God? So whoever wants to be the friend of the world becomes the enemy of God. Or do you think it's without reason that Scripture says the Spirit He made to dwell in us envies intensely? James is kind of mean sometimes to his audience. I wonder what he was like to know. He must have been a very intense person. But let's talk about misaligned prayer, pointed in the wrong direction. The first problem is you're not praying at all. You don't have because you don't ask. So step one to be able to receive anything from God, His blessings, His favor, His power, and His guidance, is to go to Him. We read that line in Hebrews that in order for you to have a relationship with God and to approach Him, the first thing you have to do is believe He exists. And to go to Him in prayer, the second thing you have to do is believe He's powerful enough to answer your prayers and that He's more powerful than you are. The second problem is you're asking wrongly. You don't receive because you ask with the wrong motive so that you may spend it on your pleasures. That's why if I sat here praying for a Lamborghini, God would not answer that prayer because it has no purpose for His kingdom's glory. It is be for Sean Donnelly's glory. When you pray, what is the motive of your prayer? Is it power and blessing so that you might go forth and expand the kingdom? Or is it just so that your daily life is less burdensome? Is it for your own sake that you pray, or is it for God's sake that you pray? The reason this is a big deal is because if we're praying so that we can have an easier time in this world, don't you know that friendship with the world is hostility towards God? So whoever wants to be the friend of the world becomes the enemy of God. They are diametrically opposed. You cannot stand with one and still connect with the other. Now, we're to be in the world. We have to make friends with people, and that's not what James is talking about. James isn't saying don't have unbelieving friends. He's not saying don't go and communicate with non-Christians or the unsaved. That's exactly who we're called to go to. But friendship with the world means that I get along just fine with the things that are happening, and they don't grieve my heart when I hear about the abortion crisis, when I hear about masses in every generation continually turning away from God, when I hear about the thievery and lawlessness in some of our larger communities, when I hear about churches that are abandoning their faith, and that doesn't grieve my heart because I'm just okay with how things are in the world, then I am God's enemy. So we need to align our hearts because the Spirit He made to dwell in us envies intensely. One of the very first names that God gives Himself is Elkanah, the jealous God. He's jealous for you. Now, the green-eyed monster, we think of it today, it's an ugly thing. It's nasty. Jealousy is to be avoided at all costs. Not if you're God. Just as a husband would be jealous for his wife if she began to flirt or court another man, so God is jealous for us if we go away from him. He purchased us with his blood. He bought us at a price. He has a relationship with us. He is our creator and our sustainer. Of course, he is jealous for us if we go anywhere else for our source of strength, just as Israel went to Assyria and to Egypt as their source of strength and thereby abandoned God, provoking him to jealousy. If I go to my wealth or even my religious practices as the source of my strength rather than God himself, he is jealous for me. And so we must turn back to him. We must stand steadfast with the Lord our God and never cease to seek him for his sake alone. I love you, church, and I look forward to talking to you soon again.